It's the active investigation, the discovery part that is one of the commandments from creation. Because I witness it, because I am aware of it, I am it. My lifetime is the journey to understand that. And there's two kinds of people. The ones that are terrified with that proposition are the ones that feel right at home with it, because I am that.
In a world obsessed with output and achievement, what does it mean to live in tune with natural law and to allow well-being to be generated from within? Welcome to We Be the Change. I'm your host, Colleen Akiko, hosting this new series with Daniel Strawn called Navigating the New Energetics. In this second segment, the electrical aspect of human being, we again explore the multi-layered mosaic of Daniel's lived experiences and teachings to colorfully emblemize our energetic systems. You'll hear why active investigation and finding baselines in reality are so vital in navigating the current energetics, and the role of mentors and teachers in our continuous personal development and resilience. If you'd like to connect with bonus resources that parallel this series with Daniel Strawn, just go to the subscription page at somrise.live. That's SOMGRISE.LIVE. Let's hear what Daniel has to say.
My personal meditation visualization is, I don't use a mantra. I have in the past, but I'm kind of a minimalist. And whatever brings me to focus to the generation of well-being is what I'll do. Sometimes sitting by the creek and breathing the creek. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that the design is to create well-being. And that's just the pentagramic part, right? So I would offer an exercise for those interested to build your own pentagram awareness, which is to just start going around and noticing things according to color. Why is that color? Instead of walking around just bouncing around the place, taking everything to granted, says, wait a minute, what's that? So it's the active investigation, the discovery part that is one of the commandments from creation.
Yes. Notice this.
I was thinking about when we had the celebration a couple weekends ago, and I mentioned a moment I had with my dad while camping and laying on the ground without a tent and looking up at this extraordinary night sky with the zillions of stars that went on forever.
Yes.
And it was like, because I witness it, because I am aware of it, I am it. My lifetime is the journey to understand that. And there's two kinds of people. The ones that are terrified with that proposition are the ones that feel right at home with it, because I am that. Yes?
Yeah, I have my own story of coming from the terrified place to that place of what I've always known that finally got uncovered and rediscovered. And I can say for myself that I was literally waiting for the thunderbolt to strike me dead and demolish me when I made that choice to know what my deeper self had always known. But
Right.
my trained, educated self knew that to think in that non-dual way was anathema, wrong, disrespectful to the source of all things and everything evil. And for me, it required more than one very visceral experience of that union, an experience that I could not deny that this was absolutely real. And then have all my training and conditioning come under that instead of the opposite. That was the only way that I could find integrity with myself. And it was very frightening because it alienated me from my community and my family at the time.
Sometimes illumination has a price,
Yeah,
and that's the price of freedom.
it is. And
And it's hard. It's hard as hell.
it was, and each of us is so different, and our conditionings are different. But the truth is the same for all of us.
That's why it's important in service to the principle of unification of life,
Yeah.
that we have to get down to what we can agree on, because there's so many extensions, and that's part of the overwhelm. People can't differentiate because they don't have a baseline that's actually the organic, real baseline. And they keep
Yeah.
going off extension.
Yeah. How do we find the baseline?
So starting to understand how this human being processes information and frequencies and ideas, right? And like you said, everyone is different, but I'm pretty sure that heart surgeons all around the world can agree on the design of heart. Yes?
I would hope so.
Well, that's the thing. So we have to start with, we're not talking about opinions. We're talking about taking on the adventure of discovering what is real. And with kids and stuff, I'm always fascinated about my granddaughter.
Yeah.
And my big lesson overseeing her recently was that I have to pull my energy back because I'm overwhelming her. When I pull my energy back, her energy comes up. It's incredible. But it's a very fine grid and a very acute, highly acute intelligence. So anyway, so that little story with Carson, it's what we all have to deal with. We're all conditioned in different ways, like you said. So anyway, the importance of understanding, investigating, like you take this book and you might have 5 books or 7. And you have a white book, a red book, a blue book, a yellow book, a green book, and a silver and a gold book, right? And what you do is you just go around and you do collect examples. And there's 2 rows. And the first row is color as it appears in nature. And the other row is color as it is assigned by humans. So you start making these lists. And this is important because it's a calculation. I always love those movies where they're trying to figure out who did it. And there's always some crazy genius in the basement, and on the wall there's all these photographs and pins in them and strings connecting. It's like that. How do you figure this out? But the process of directing your attention in collecting these examples of color will strengthen your connections to color, by gum. Yes? And because what's important about color is dark side of the moon, it's got the pyramid, and it's got the white light coming in, and then it's got the spectrum coming out. It could be said that color is the first cloak of force.
Color is the first cloak of force.
Yes. So white light breaks down into a spectrum.
Yes.
Okay. But don't get confused, please, because people will say spectrum, and then they'll jump to 7, and then they'll think about the 7 of the chakras, right? 7 chakras. But what I'm talking about is a different energetic system.
There we go.
Okay. Because this is about the hardware.
Thank you. Yeah. The hardware.
And it has to do directly with similar gyroscopes in a way. Yeah. And part of the resistance I meet is that there's a lot of people these days who are, God bless them, everyone's feeling this signal of the wake up signal. And there's endless computations of all the expressions of all these people having all these experiences with all this stuff, right? After a while, you just wonder, what the hell's going on? That's why I break it down to what can we agree on and what you can't argue with. I said, I'll talk about breath work, and then someone will interfere and said, Yogi Bear says blah, blah, blah. And I said, he can breathe that way all he wants, and then he'll pass out. And I've learned a lot from some really wonderful teachers.
Me too. I appreciate them all. And some of them were super crucial for me at a particular juncture in my development. And then they just didn't feel right for me. So I didn't buy their next book or whatever. But
shame on you.
But the book, I'm thinking of one in particular, I don't even remember his name now, but he brought out something that was life for me at that moment. And I remember walking in the grocery store, getting the stuff from the grocery store and reading his book while I'm grocery shopping, because it was that vital for me. It was just weaving everything. All the loose ends came together and they were woven by what he was bringing out. And actually, a lot of the stuff after that, it wasn't meaningful for me. So I didn't keep the ship turned in that direction.
There's no end of content to be had.
For sure.
But what's important is, does it help you?
Yeah.
You
Is it life-giving?
That's why I think it's important to have a foundation that you can discern from.
Yes.
Let's make an agreement that if I drop this hammer and it hits my foot, that yes, I will say something that nobody should hear. So back to this marvelous pentagramic idea, right? So the homework is to make example books. As people say, what are you doing? I says, well, I'm trying to understand color. So one of my mentors and all around interesting people was Cap Childress. He was the architect I worked with. And he was an architect, but he was also like a spiritual master. He spoke in terms of material and construct and how does this feel? And he would write these things. He was extraordinary. He didn't let me get away with any shit, and he made it important to keep improving. Always pushing to do better, or how can we make or modify or stream, and to learn to give up on what I think is right.
Having a particular attitude, I'm thinking of the baby metaphor of trying this and then moving from that to what's next in that discovery process and creating process.
So any teacher that you can find, my granddaughter is one of my greatest teachers at the moment, but what this says is don't get stuck in the realms of philosophy. Just put them in the white, put them in that warehouse. And it's really, because every once in a while I'll hear the voice of a teacher, or I'll remember something that they said that was exactly right. And it's great to have a big warehouse of that, because these are our allies. All teachers through history, or the artists who depicted, they're all there for our behalf, and we stand on their shoulders in a very real way. This is the human development story in the building sense. And then every once in a while there's a shock. Boom. Because there is spontaneous, higher function processes. The marbles roll just right, and all of a sudden, you're floating off the ground for 2 weeks. And I've had all these kinds of experiences, but it always comes back to how do you process that? How do you hold that? How do you value it? And not stopping and being stuck in one notion, because the human nature is about growth. And you could say that's the electrical aspect of human being.
In this conversation, we touched the edges of our human circuitry, and we're just getting started. In the next segment with Daniel, we'll go even deeper. If you've felt like you were born for something more and you want to be ready for what's arriving, make sure you tune in for the next We Be the Change segment. Thank you for helping us offer this podcast free of ads through your subscription. Connect with bonus resources at songrise.live. That's SONGRISE.LIVE, where you can also request your complimentary e-guide, Out of Your Mind and Into Your Light. This is your host, Colleen Akiko. Enjoy the colors of your day. I'll see you next time.